So it's on to our next presenter. We get to hear from lovely Tara Goggans with Webinate.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very nice to be here. As she said, my name is Tara Goggans. I am one of the owners of Webinate. We are a web development firm here in Colorado Springs. We've been in business for going on 3 years now. However, I have actually not been an owner of that company the entire time. So I'll take my 6 minutes to tell you a little bit about my journey and how I actually got here. I grew up here in Colorado Springs, got married, moved away, got divorced, and came home. So in 2006, I started working as an executive admin for a local startup here in Colorado Springs. And so I was involved in all of their marketing and how to build their business. And then left there and went on to another position as an executive admin. So from 2006 to about 2018, I was working as an executive admin in some role or another that had something to do with marketing of some kind. In 2018, I got laid off. And my brother, who is the one who started Webinate, had started in 2017. They weren't doing much. I knew that they had this business. So I called him. I said, hey, I got laid off. I've got all this time. Is there something I can do to help you guys? And so he's like, well, you know, we really haven't been doing much. So I just started kind of going, well, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about doing that? And the answer that kept coming back to me is, but we have no money, Tara. We have no money. I said, yeah, but there's so much you can do with zero money. I said, have you guys thought about getting involved in networking groups? I said, I know they're here in town. We did it when I was working for Uniquely Yours, which was the first place that I had been working. And he said, well, no. I said, okay, they're free. We're going to get involved in that. So we started doing some marketing and getting out in the community. And as we started talking to people, they started telling us, you know, oh, have you been to the Tri-Lakes Chamber after hours? So we just started taking all of these little tidbits of advice that we got and moving around, and we joined the Tri-Lake Chambers, which was a godsend. And by the time 2018 closed, we had 4 new clients. And so around April of 2019, he and my brother and his partner decided that they needed to make me a partner because all of that business was generated by ideas and things that I had had. We also had started a Facebook Live, and it was, you know, really working well for us. We started getting calls and gaining some traction from that. Then about the end of 2019, there was some personal things going on amongst really all of us, just some different things. And so we kind of set our Facebook stuff onto the side and yeah, we're going to work it, but we're going to cancel this meeting, and you know, meeting amongst ourselves, that is, not any client meetings. But it got to the point where then about the beginning of the year, we're like, okay, let's start doing this again, and then COVID hit. And our business, really, what we do shouldn't suffer from COVID because anything we do, we can do remotely. So we don't have to be face-to-face. It's nice, but we don't have to be. But where it affected us the most and really in our hearts was that all of the businesses that we had been working with went out of business. You know, they couldn't afford to pay the rent on their buildings. They couldn't afford to do these things, and so our business just dried up. And so we were back at that place of, okay, now what do we do? You know, networking wasn't really happening that much because we couldn't get together. There were some things online. And so we were just kind of trying to re-find our footing. So now I'm like, okay, we've got to do something. COVID is still there, but it's got its ups and downs. We're still able to meet, so let me get back out here. So I reached out to Brandy and Danielle, who I had met through some of my other networking, and they're like, okay, you should come and present at Amelia Coast. I'm like, all right. You're going on next week. I said, all right. so here I am. Things are actually starting to ramp up for us. We have a couple of new clients. So business is starting to pick back up. And it's a viable business, and it's a business that I know that we can grow. And so I'm just kind of back out here and going down the entrepreneurial path that I honestly did not see myself going down, but I'm very excited. I am the one that handles the day-to-day operations of the business. I'm scheduling, meeting clients, talking to clients. My brother Garrett is the one who does web design and development, and then our other partner Ryan, he is our SEO guru, and he and I do a lot of social media stuff for our clients. So that brings me today, and here I am. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Danielle.
Tyson, you go first.
Okay, Tyson.
I hope I don't butcher it. Webbix, right?
It's Webbin It.
Webbin It.
Uh-huh.
Webbin It. Okay, got it. Can you tell us a little bit about Webbin It's why and who you were trying to help and service?
So, what we've really been marketing towards is small businesses. New businesses that either don't have a web presence or have a web presence that needs help. And so that could be you have a website that, is it good? So we look at it. But our heart is for helping that small business. We want you to succeed just like we want to succeed. And having a web presence in today's world is extremely important. And not just having that web presence, but making that web presence work for you. And there are all kinds of different ways that can be done. So our heart is really for the small business so that as we're succeeding, you're succeeding.
So I got a follow-up.
Okay.
Can you talk about any types of COVID strategies you guys have tried to figure out to help small business owners in that way?
So with COVID, like I said, we can meet virtually. So we don't have to necessarily do business right here in Colorado Springs because we can deal with you virtually. But that is one of the ways that if we end up going back in a lockdown where we can't, meet face to face, we can sit down and talk to you and then talk to you about the strategies that you can go through in whatever your business is for how to stay alive during COVID. If you can't meet, one of our companies that we had been working with was a place that taught Kung Fu. Well, they couldn't have kids in there. And so, but there are things you can do. You can do some virtual classes. And we have a lot of connections on how to help and make that happen. We do brand management. So if you're just starting to get your brand going, we talk about how you can make that happen. And there's a lot of different things that can be done, to address COVID. Yes.
I wanted to say well done on grabbing that business and filling your time and creating an income of your own. So well done there. Is this where you see yourself for a while, or do you want to maybe build it and sell it off and do something else, or does this become your passion?
We've talked about we'd like to build it and franchise it. So ideally we want to build it, I think, and keep it. We've talked about it, but we haven't come to any kind of real solid decision on that, other than we really think we'd like to set up a franchise. Ms.
Can you
Danielle?
talk about what you were doing previously with like the Facebook Live videos and what you were doing there?
So with the Facebook Live, what we had started doing was kind of a question and answer kind of thing, and I was the host, and Garrett and Ryan sat on either side of me, and we would pick a topic, because in reality, any of you can do and manage your own web development and websites, and you can manage it. It can be done. It's not hard, but it's time consuming. So we were offering tips, tricks, different things that people who were trying to manage their own knew, with the understanding that when they started going down that road and running a business and trying to manage their website and their web presence, they weren't going to have time. Something would have to give, and then they would come to us. So that was kind of where we went with that. We also, with our Facebook Live, which we called Webinate Wisdom, we did it once a month, and then in the months where we would have like 2 times in the month where we should be on air, we would have a local business. We would talk to the local business, give them an opportunity to tell about what they do, and then talk to them about their web presence. Whether we were working on their website or any of that with them or not, what does your web presence look like? How is it working for you? How is it not working for you? So with our new, we're kind of revamping stuff, And we're going to take Webinate Wisdom to just that, where we are going to showcase local businesses. Any one of you come on and have just some great conversation about what you do, and then talk about how your website and your web presence is working for you, your social media, any of that. Somebody back there? Yeah.
What has been your greatest challenge personally being involved in the business with COVID happening, and what is your greatest lesson that you've learned for overcoming that challenge?
The greatest challenge, man, that's a good question. I think that our biggest challenge, and it fell on me because I was kind of the one trying to brainstorm and figure out how to do this, and I was the one with the experience doing it, was knowing how to get out there, and once the business came in, how to manage that business. Working as an executive admin, you know, with C-level executives, you're behind the scenes hearing the good, the bad, and the ugly that nobody else hears. And so you were hearing what they were coming up with, the ideas they had that then I could come back and apply. But sometimes that was a challenge. Scheduling was a huge challenge for us because Garrett and Ryan at the time were still working, you know, day jobs. So I ended up kind of being that face. So it was just kind of managing my time. And what was the other part of your question? I'm sorry.
What lesson have you gained?
So the lesson is that we have to just do. We can talk about stuff, we can look at ideas, we can plan and put a strategy in place, but unless you actually get out and do, unless you finally say, okay, I'm going to get dressed and go to 1,000,000 Cups this morning, or I'm going to go and I'm going to do this, it's not going to get done. You have to do. And so that's probably my biggest lesson. Yes, Brandy?
It's so good to see you on the stage, first off, and to see you back at it. We've had some really good conversations in the past about how you guys structure your cost to your clients. And I'd love for you to share that with people because it's not a flat rate package.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are a little different in that aspect compared to most web design companies.
So yeah, we do have packages. We have some package pricing, and we have like 3 levels. Everything that we do kind of has a spin on a web, you know, so Webinate. So our packages are called web spinners. They're geared so that, you know, depending on where you're at within your journey, they're affordable. There's you get a lot of bang for your buck in the packages. Of course, we have a la carte pricing. The one thing that we do, and it's part of that thing that we have to work with small businesses who, like us, have no money, or have very little money, or their budget is really, you know, a shoestring, and that shoestring is frayed, you know. So we, you know, we sit down and we work with you, you know, break, you know, payments up if we have to. I'm not going to give you all of my, as Danielle said, secret sauce, but you know, it's one reason why we don't publish our prices, because you can look at a price and get a sticker shock, but if you come to us and we sit down, you know, we want to do what we need to do for you, and we're not going to oversell you. That's something else that we take as far as our ethic goes, is, you know, you don't need that. Or you're going to need this, but you don't need this right now. So let's get here because you need this to get from point A to point B. And then once we get to point B, let's look again and say, okay, now how do we get from point B to point C? So that's one thing that we really do that's different than, I think, our competition, is that we're not just looking for the next client or the next dollar per se. We want somebody that we can work with over the long term and help you grow your business. Yes, Frank?
You know, I just wanted to applaud you, first of all. The essence of entrepreneurship is stops and starts, pivoting, relaunching, rebranding. It happens all the time for those that are brave enough to jump back into the fray. So let me ask you, given that you are demonstrating your courage right now, what did it take to instill or infuse that kind of courage to say we're going to do it?
You know, through the course of this, you know, I mean, obviously our shoestring was fraying down to one little itty bitty thread, And I had been trying to find just employment to help, supplement stuff. I've been on interview after interview where I have been qualified, beyond qualified, and I keep being told we've gone with another candidate. I have excellent interviews. How'd your interview go? Oh, it was great. I really, I'm feeling confident. And then nothing. And so I just got to the point where I felt like the cosmos is telling me that this is the journey that I'm supposed to be on. This is the way that I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to work for myself and build something for myself instead of working for someone else. So. Go ahead, yeah.
I was just gonna ask, so what are some of the differences now that you are your own boss? You used to be behind the scenes doing all that executive admin work, and then now you're the face of it, and you're your own boss. Is it a lot of pros and cons? Are you much happier being your own boss? Or?
I'm happier. As stressful as you would think that it is, trying, as we all know, that growing a business is, I don't feel that, only because I really feel like there's purpose here. And so anything that is stressful doesn't weigh as heavy on me. And the pros and cons, I think, are just that, I'm still doing a lot of the same stuff that I've been doing for umpteen jillion years. I'm still scheduling appointments and making phone calls. But the caveat to that is I know what that C-level executive was having me do and what the outcome was supposed to be. And so now I'm that C-level executive. And I'm still doing my job, but it's with a different purpose. I'm not trying to make him look like a rock star. I'm trying to make the company look like a rock star. Somebody else? Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I meet business owners randomly who still don't really understand the importance of having a web presence. Is that part of your strategy, is educating people on why they need it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of what Webinate Wisdom was kind of, the thought process was behind it, was to give that education. When we sit down with people, everybody's heard SEO. Some people have a little understanding of what SEO is and how it works. But then you have those people who say, well, I don't need a website. I do all my stuff on social media. And you can make money on social media, but there is a theory behind why you still need that website, how the flow of information should work that is actually more beneficial to you as a business than just one platform. And then SEO, it's an ever-evolving thing. So you may understand that you need to have your SEO in place so that you're found on the first page of Google, because we all know that the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google. So you want to put it there. And then you have somebody who says, well, I'll just buy Google AdWords. But what people don't understand about that is, number one, it's very expensive. And number two, if your SEO isn't in place, it's not going to do you much good, because the person who has their SEO in place is still going to rate right back up there ahead of you. So, and I personally, as a consumer, whether I did web development or not, when I'm doing a Google search and I see ad, I scroll past those down to the ones below that. So, is it really, yeah, it gets you up there, but I'm not going to look at that because I want to come down here and see this person. So, there's a lot of caveats to it. And then with your SEO and Google and the analytics, they change constantly. And I'm not the guru, but I do understand that, where 3 months from now, what was working, they've changed something that now it doesn't work. So your SEO is something that should be an ongoing thing. Get it set up right, you do your A/B testing, you leave it. But then when things change, you need to understand you've got to come back and look at it again. Yes?
What sets you apart from many other SEO companies, social media companies, blogging companies? How do you guys differentiate yourselves from the competition?
So I think that's a twofold answer. Our pricing, number one, and how we look at the person that we're talking to in relation to pricing. And number two, we don't oversell. You know, we're gonna tell you what you need, where you're at, and we're gonna tell you your SEO is probably your most important. We're gonna give you the education as to why. So it's like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, here, take this pill. And you're like, well, you know, why do I need to take this pill? Just take it because I said take it. Well, it's great, you're an expert and that's phenomenal, but what's it gonna do for me? And so we offer that education, you know, and we offer it from that expert level. So that would be the thing I think that differentiates us from other web development firms.
Okay, we have time for one more question before our super special question. Anybody?
Yes.
Where do you see your business and yourself in 5 years?
So I think right now our goal is in 5 years to have grown the business enough, have enough clientele that we are taking on employees that can do the work and we manage, you know, and bring the business in and then kind of hand it off to people that we know and trust. And one thing that, in that sense, that I think is that we're going to really look at is, while we feel education is extraordinarily important, I understand from my struggle that experience sometimes outweighs education. So if you can show me where you've had this experience, we're going to give you a shot. We're not going to say, well, you have to have that degree, or we're not even going to look at you. And I'm not going to necessarily pass you over because somebody else came in with the degree. So.
All right. Who has that super special question? Really, you guys? Oh, there we go. Right there in the gray spot.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sorry. What can we do as a Colorado Springs community to support you?
So I think right now, you know, you're going to think, come to us and let us look at your website. No. Really, the thing I think that would help us the most is engage with us, in the sense that when we're probably not going to start back to doing Webinate Wisdom until after the first of the year, because we're going to be doing some rollout things. But when we post on social media, like it, share it. You can comment on it, and it only has to be one word. Fantastic, great. It doesn't. You don't have to write a diatribe about what a wonderful, you know, company you think we are. It's just one word. You know, it's the easiest way for you to support us, and it costs nothing. And we, as a company, are happy to reciprocate. We look forward to reciprocating. But I know that I'm getting ready to do some. I'm going to do Danielle's, I can't think, podcasts. I've got some different podcasts that I'm getting ready to do. So as they start showing up on social media, just, you know, help us, like us. You know, go out to our Facebook page, you know, go look at our website. Just engage in that way.